Welcome to SaharaTV and to a whiff of sports to brighten up your day, or maybe depending on which side you stand on, different, I should say different tournaments going on right now and other issues, maybe not so much. We have on the line our celebrated sports analyst, Gary L. Smith of SuperSport and some other platforms. He's going to help us to go through a few topics that we have on our notepad. And we also have our very own Victor Cruz Shegun Sanya reaching us from his home in New Jersey. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Kwesi.
All right. Let me start with you, Gary. Under 20 World Cup going on right now, and also the Women's World Cup. Let's start with the under 20. What are we seeing so far in terms of African representation?
Africa sent 4 representatives, Senegal, Mali, Nigeria, and Ghana. And the tournament has been quite good in terms of the developmental stage because all countries have shown some very good talent. However, I mean, as it is in most African countries, the emphasis is on winning and not necessarily development. So the results so far will be taken in a mixed way. Senegal and Mali have gotten to the quarter-final stage. Ghana and Nigeria have dropped at the round of 16. But the good thing for Africa is that all 4 countries made it out of the group stage. And it's the first time in history that all 4 African countries have gone out of the group stage in a FIFA-organized competition.
Awesome. You mentioned something about winning and not, like Africans focus on winning and not developing the game. Can you expatiate on this a bit? For instance, we're not supposed to get disappointed when we lose in the interest of growing the game?
At this level, for many of the developed countries and for many of the Western countries especially, as well as if you look at the Far Eastern countries like Japan and China and South Korea, under 20 is strictly that, is development. So although they send their best teams and hope for the best to win, a loss is not taken as badly as it is taken in Africa. For Africa, even if it is an under 3, under 5, under 10 championship, once you are sent there with taxpayers' money, you have to go and win. If you don't win, most of the time the coach is berated and a lot of flack is given to the technical team.
That's so true. I remember a situation where the captain of the Black Stars, Asamoah Gyan, said he was not going to play for Ghana again because of all the insults he was receiving after they lost the match, and it took the president to go and speak to him to rescind that decision. Victor, let's ask you about the Women's World Cup. Nigeria unfortunately lost 2-0 to Australia yesterday, but on the bright side, we have a Cameroonian woman who has set the record as the first woman to score a hat-trick at the World Cup. What else is going on at the Women's World Cup?
Crazy. Well, let me just quickly, talk about what Gary said about,
yeah, sure.
The guys at this level. Well, I agree with him, to a large extent. It's about developing your game, developing youth football. But at the same time, you want your teams to win. And the reason why is, at least I can speak for the Nigerian teams. Every time a team loses the way the Flying Eagles lost, you know what happens to the team? They get disbanded. I mean, they basically everybody just pushes them aside. That's exactly what happens in Nigeria. Once you lose, this team is together today because they won the Under-17 championships. And what everyone was expecting was that this team would graduate into the Super Eagles. Now that they lost, people are asking, let's just please do away with these guys. Look for some other guys. So that's the problem with African football. You don't lose. When you lose, that entire team suffers, except for 1 or 2 players. Now, talking about, the women's game, that needs to change anyway. Talking about the women's game, sad day again for Nigerian football. I really don't know what's going on right now, though. I think it has to do with coaching deficiency. We have a very solid team. We have very good players. They still lost to Australia. The Australians came out with a game plan. The Nigerian coach had no game plan. He didn't really know what his response was going to be. How to play that game was pretty simple. Stretch the Australian defense. They had a compact defense. He couldn't do that. At the end of the day, he lost the game. to a team which was not better than his team, and he lost 2-0. Next up, they have, the USA, and I mean, that game is as good as done. It's football, it's 90 minutes, but I guess that game is as good as done. The Cameroonians have not been too badly. They did lose to Japan 2-1, but, overall, I would say it's not been too bad. But Cote d'Ivoire got trashed by Germany 10-0. That's a little, that was a little sad. But Cameroon also won against Ecuador, and then they lost to Japan. So that's not been too bad. They still stand a chance.
And let's not forget that Cote d'Ivoire also lost their second game to Thailand as well. So now,
yes, they also lost their second game
to Thailand, and that was very disappointing for a lot of people, wasn't it?
So, yeah. Technically, you can say Cote d'Ivoire is out. It's women's football in most African countries. It still needs to grow. Most people were just expecting something from the Nigerian team, and since they didn't do it, I guess we can as well just call it a wrap for the African female teams in this competition.
Okay, let's move on to our next topic, the FIFA scandal. There's some kind of a dense silence that we all feel around what's going on. Information keeps trickling, out about, in bits and pieces about what's really going on. Sepp Blatter has stepped down. Gary, what does African football look like without Sepp Blatter, the man who brought the World Cup to Africa?
Well, that question's answer largely depends on a few factors. And a lot of my colleague Western journalists are quick to tell me that it is true that Blatter was a friend of Africa, but we shouldn't sound the death knell by saying that without Blatter, African football will not grow, because that will mean that we are already prejudging the candidates for Blatter's position when he leaves, even before they are in. Because if, for example, Luis Figo or Prince Ali or Jerome Valke or whoever it is, Suno Gulatio, or any of them come into position and decide that they are going to run for Sepp Blatter's position and win, it's quite likely they will have to befriend Africa, the way the votes are going and the way Africa has positioned itself. With credit to Hisa Hayatu, Africa has become a really, really important block in the voting process. And I think that any candidates that will come to replace Sepp Blatter, or at least want to be elected into Sepp Blatter's position, will be a fool not to tell Africa something nice. So, in summary, African football is not going to lose a whole lot, come to think of it, because anybody who is going to win that FIFA presidency must make sure that Africa and especially Asia also are happy. So I don't think it's going to be the death knell yet. Sepp Blatter has blazed the trail and shown that Africa is an important part of the world that should not be ignored. And I think that anybody who is going to take his place will simply have to follow those steps.
Awesome. What's your take on that, Shegun?
Yeah, for the most part, I think the man has already, he's laid the foundation. He's always claimed to be a friend of Africa. But I think if there's corruption scandal around you as a person, I think you just got to go. That's first of all. Secondly, I think he's been there he's done his bit. It's time for someone else to step in. And like Gary said, there's nothing that says the next person who's coming in there, is coming to just push Africa aside. Look, let's face it, football has grown worldwide. This is not the day of European football taking over FIFA. Today, if you push one block aside, you are as well, putting yourself in a whole lot of trouble when the next election process comes around. So everybody knows that if you're really going to, make any impact in FIFA today, you want everybody on your side. So I don't see it as a problem for Africa, and I think this whole scandal has to go away. I think it was a good thing Sepp Blatter stepped aside. All the people who are involved, it should just move away. Let football get back to what it is. We need to enjoy the game again. That's just my position. Let's enjoy the game we love to enjoy. All this scandal is too much talk.
Sure. So Gary, let me ask you then, how strong is the African bargaining chip? For instance, hosting rights and stuff like that. For instance, the number of representatives, or the percentage of representation at the World Cup and other tournaments, FIFA sanctioned tournaments. How strong is the African bargaining chip?
Africa's bargaining chip is 54 countries, strong. That is a lot. And it's up to the continent to make itself heard. I mean, in the past couple of years, Africa has not been heard much in terms of the topic you're talking about, which is to say the number of countries that it has at the World Cup. Maybe, just maybe, whoever comes after Sepp Blatter may have to be pushed, have to be nudged slightly into giving Africa maybe an extra place or two in exchange for that block that he may need to get the presidency. So at the moment it is strong, but definitely because it is strong, we should be able to get far more than we are getting as a continent from it. But it doesn't come in isolation, let's not forget, because you have to give something to get something. And if you are giving 54 votes, maybe that's not all you should be able to give, but maybe African countries and their representatives should consider making their monetary, contribution to FIFA more in terms of, because you can say whatever you want about Africa having 54 votes, but the truth of the matter is always the same. Nobody apart from Europe buys hosting rights to FIFA tournaments. Nobody apart from Europe. They buy the bulk of, they contribute the most of the money when it comes to hosting rights to the World Cup, to the Confederations Cup, Women's World Cup, and the 20 World Cup in the likes. So if Africa wants to take it seriously as well, the truth of the matter is that put your money where your mouth is. That's all. Basically.
Segun, let's step back a bit to the Sepp Blatter issue, but let's bring it to the African continent, the CAF. Issa Hayatou, as far back as I can remember, has been the CAF boss. Is it time perhaps for him also to, start looking for the exit?
Well, if you know me, I am always a firm believer in the fact that one man does not hold all the knowledge in the world. That's the way I have always seen it. And I'm one of the people who have always thought, yes, there should be continuity in everything. But let's face it, you don't know it all. And after a while, you begin to run out of ideas. You begin to recycle ideas. We've seen this in African football. Same type of management, same style, same problems happening at the African Cup of Nations over and over again. And I personally, it's my own personal opinion anyway, yes, I think people like Issa Hayatou, they have tried. Issa Hayatou has been there forever. Let's give someone else a chance. I know people are always afraid of experimenting. I listened to the Nigerian FA boss, Amaju, and he said something about Sepp Blatter. He said, the fear is we don't want to experiment. Sepp Blatter has done so much in bringing equity, developments to little countries where there really wasn't football development before, building up, infrastructure and all those things. And he's made sure he's done that. So we don't want to experiment and bring in a guy who is going to think football is only for Europeans. And I agree with that. But at the same time, I also think you always want to try something new. You can never tell. You just can never tell. So for Issa Hayatou, I think, let's give somebody else a chance.
Okay. Now to our final topic for the day, and I'll start with you again, Gary. The Black Stars donated 50,000 cedis, is it, to the flood victims. If you convert that into dollars, that's something totally paltry, to say the least. Some people are kicking against it. They're like, oh, they should really have given much more. What do you think?
I think that when people are making donations, it's exactly that, it's donations, it's their money. That's first. It's easy for us to judge, but the question is, and the truth is, and because this is an African network we are talking about, most people in Africa have not even donated to the various flood victims. The same issue happened in Lagos, when they had their floods from last 2 years or so. You saw a lot of people berating the Super Eagles because at the time they had a friendly match or so. When the guys came into town, people said they earned so much, but they have given so little. One journalist and one station, I think it was Brilla FM or so, it had a cursory check of the people who were complaining, and those are some of the people in public office. It turned out that almost 75% of them had not even donated $1, $1 to the effort, but they had an effrontery to criticize those who had at least given something, and to be clear, the 50,000 Ghana cedis equates to $11,500. Okay. Now, to put it in context, each Black Stars player for a winning bonus usually gets $10,000. Okay, so there are 23 Black Stars players who have been called to play in this friendly with Mauritius on Sunday, that's tomorrow. And so what a lot of those complaining are saying is that if the entire team of 23 players have contributed $11,500, when they have gotten, you know, I mean, they'll likely get about $10,000 each. It is insulting to the victims. But in as much as I agree with that, unfortunately, this is not tax they are paying that they are refusing to pay. This is their own money. And so if you compute it, it computes to about $500 each. At the end of the day, guys, it is their money. I know it is small, but what can you do? What can you do, really? It's the money they are giving.
We can't do much, Gary, but actually, let me hear Segun's thoughts on this, and then I'll come back to you, Gary, with my follow-up on that. Segun, what do you think?
I was just laughing as you guys were doing all that arithmetic. Because I'm thinking to myself, and this is why I tell people, you cannot do arithmetic on money that I make. It's not your money.
It's as simple as that.
You know, you cannot be doing arithmetic for what I make over what I make. And look, charity is a personal thing. Some people love to give to charity. Some people don't love to give to charity. Some people want to give to God. Some people believe you should not give to God. It's a personal thing. So when you start calculating for people because they make so and so amount, I think it is completely wrong. It's good to give. It's good to help others in need. Guess what? I don't like it. I don't want to give. Who are you to judge me? I always tell people it's easy to criticize. Many of these people who are talking, like Gary said, if they're in the position today, they would forget everybody else. The same in Nigeria, who you don't help. Who have you helped? Many of these people have never helped anybody in their life. The little they have they given out of it? Ask them the question. They see the beggar going on the street. How many cedis have they given to the man who is begging?
Okay.
Almost nothing. And then they now judge the guys because the guys are making more. No. In your own little position, have you done anything? So I don't judge people's decisions. I don't judge what they want to do with their money.
Okay.
They made their money. If they want to give it out, fine. If they don't want to give it out, guess what? If God decides he's going to still help the flood victims, he will help them.
All right. I have a minute left. I'm going to share it between the two of you with this question that I'm going to ask, though. The Black Stars probably could have done a better job of that if they had taken their time to probably think through it properly and say, you know, let's actually inform all the players. Maybe everybody can give about $1,000 each, which I think they can, and then they would have made a better presentation, because I hear all that you're saying, you know, it's their own money and everything, but I do believe that at least one of the Black Stars players would definitely have probably even given more than that. Don't you think, Gary?
Well, we wouldn't know, because the fact of the matter is that the disaster happened a week before they came to town. And so, I mean, it was a really short time to even say that we are going to ask all of them to. And as we speak...
Well, exactly my point. So if they had taken their time to probably not rush to donate, but actually... But
there was pressure as well, because you don't have time. There's been a lot of pressure from people to say that they should do the donation now, instead of taking their time to do it, because people feel that it to be a good PR exercise. So if you want it quickly, well, then you get quick money.
I guess. Okay, Segun.
Yeah, I mean, I saw what she called the actress Jackie Appiah, you know, making some donations, and she did something quite, you know, from the little she had, she gave out. So could they have done more? Probably. But guess what? Like I said, it's their money.
It's their own money. They do what they want to do with it.
You do what you want to do with it. Nobody should hold another man, you know, to ransom for what he does with his money. He earns that money. You cannot tell him what to do with it.
Okay, thank you so much, gentlemen. Oh, before we go, Gary, there's a lady trying to grab the GFA seat. How do you assess her chances in 30 seconds?
Well, so far, in 30 seconds, so far, she's not declared her official intention, but everybody knows she wants to go for it. Problem is, the GFA are like FIFA. They are voted by a certain number of Congress delegates, and from where I sit, she's not going to get even 4 votes because she has not campaigned hard enough and gotten into the heads of the delegates enough. All she's doing is good, but she's not going anywhere.
I see. Thank you very much. So, I'm trying to say, we really appreciate your time, Gary L. Smith and Victor Segun Sanya. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you next week or some other time, not too long from now.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Sahara TV.
Thank you, Kwesi.
Keep watching. We are going to be introducing the sports segment on Sahara soon. It's going to be much more exciting. So keep it logged right here. Sahara TV, everything Africa, everything sports.